very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Kindly have your seat. God bless Nigeria and God bless the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Today, I'm simply excited and happy to witness this day. So if I make any mistake, blame it on the excitement, but I do not intend to make any. I'd apologize at any point in time, but really, today is a very important event, and with the quality of dignitaries, the minister is accompanied by other eminent men and women, and I'm so delighted that we are receiving them and every other person who will be mounting this podium to speak at one point or the other. It's the second day of the Nigerian Raw Expo, and to officially welcome us at this event, I have the honor of inviting the president, who would do well to establish the protocol, and we follow that, and every other person can stand or other sit on the protocol duly established. So let's give a warm welcome as we present the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Otumba Francis Meshoye, OFR. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you. Let's keep clapping until he gets here. Thank you so much, Mr. President. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mateo. Thanks so much. The Honorable Minister of State for Industry, our dear Senator John Owan Eno, the Director and Unido of Representatives, Sub-Regional Office in Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ambassador Philbert A. Johnson, the Managing Director of Bank of Industry, Dr. Olashupo Olusi, the Director General of Raw Materials Research and Development Council, the Director General of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, esteemed members of ESCO and Council of Man, the distinguished special guests, our distinguished speakers, esteemed exhibitors, industry stakeholders, gentlemen of the press, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm honored to warmly welcome you to day 2 of this landmark event, the Nigeria Manufacturing Equipment Expo, which is fittingly co-located with the Nigerian Raw Materials Expo. It is the NME NIRAM Expo 2025. I'm delighted to welcome the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Senator John Owan Eno. We appreciate the efforts you are making to revolutionize the industrial prosperity for our dear nation. We sense and feel you every time. We are very much well with you. Take or you would like to take. Yesterday, we had the Honorable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology with us as our special guest of honor. Today, we are doubly honored to have the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment as our distinguished special guest of honor. Yesterday, we embarked on a remarkable journey, one that is not just about showcasing our industrial capabilities, but also about exploring opportunities for collaboration, innovation, and sustainable practices that can propel our industry to a future of resilience and prosperity. The energy and enthusiasm and connections that filled this all yesterday exemplify the dedication and passion that each of you brings to the table. Of particular interest is a remarkable submission of our speakers, keynote speaker, and session speakers who emphasize on the importance of train readiness to revolutionize manufacturing with innovative technology-driven approaches. One phrase I can't forget in a hurry is that the nation must make manufacturing sexy. In other words, make it desirable attractive, and doing everything possible to make it a household name. I'm positive on the outcome of our engagement at this event. Today, as we continue this inspiring dialogue, I urge each of you to engage openly with the exhibitors, share your insights, and forge partnerships that can lead to transformative outcomes for our businesses and our economy as a whole. The NME NERAM Expo presents us with a unique platform to learn from one another, to challenge the status quo, and to pave the way for advancement that will shape the manufacturing landscape in Nigeria and beyond. As we take more discussions, and the networking sessions today, let us keep in mind the overarching goal of this event, which is to enhance the competitiveness of our manufacturing sector. We must harness the innovations and strategies presented here to equip ourselves to better respond to local demands while also positioning ourselves strategically in the global marketplace. Our theme for this year, accelerating sustainable manufacturing through cutting-edge equipment and technology solutions, resonates strongly with the need for adaptation and ingenuity in our industry. I encourage of you to reflect on how from this expo can be integrated into your business strategies and operations. In closing, I would like to once again extend my heartfelt gratitude to our sponsors, partners, exhibitors, and all participants for your commitment to making this expo a success. Your contributions have been invaluable, and together we are striving the course towards a more robust manufacturing ecosystem in Nigeria. Let us embrace the opportunities that lie ahead and work collaboratively to build a prosperous future for our industry. I thank you very much, and I pray that you make today a productive and inspiring experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together for the president of the association, Otumba Francis Meshoye, OFR. Thank you very much. And thank you sincerely for Dr. Olashopo Olusi, the MDBOI. It's a pleasure having you in our midst, and I know a lot of manufacturers are more excited to see you in this room. Before we invite the minister, the BOI, MD, and of course the UNIDO rep to speak, we have a presentation which will be delivered by the MD CEO Secure ID Limited on enhancing sustainable innovation and technology transfer in manufacturing. If your hands are not too busy, let's please give a resounding applause for Mrs. Kofo Akikugbe, OON, as she comes to address us. Thank you, ma'am. You're very much welcome.
Good morning. To the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Senator John Owen Eno, to the President, Man Otumba Meshoye, OFR, to the MD CEO, Bank of Industry, Dr. Olashopo Olusi, to the UNIDO country rep, the ambassador, the DG, RMR DC, Professor Muonso, to the DG, Man, Shegun Ajayi Kadiri, MNI, and of course to the members of the EXCO of Man, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Now, it's truly a pleasure to be here this morning, and I would like to thank the organizers of the NME NIRAM Expo, basically driven by the MAN and also the RMRDC, for putting together this very critical event. The topic before us is enhancing sustainable innovation and technology transfer in manufacturing. This conversation is not just important, but it is urgent. We are now at a point where we must decide whether Nigeria will continue to be a buyer of ideas and innovative solutions, or create them by ourselves for future enhancements as enablers of sustainable development and growth. Let's be honest, our manufacturing sector is not where it should be. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, 2024, manufacturing contributed just 8.4% to Nigeria's GDP last year, down from 10% 5 years ago. Meanwhile, countries like Vietnam have crossed 25%, and of course we know China sits comfortably above 28%. And then we were told yesterday from the statistics that Africa as a whole contributes just 1.9% to global manufacturing output, despite having nearly 20% of the world's population. This gap, as far as I'm concerned, represents a missed opportunity. But it's a crisis that we must urgently address. But it's not all bad news. There have been some achievements in the manufacturing sector, even if modest, through the entrepreneurial spirit of our Nigerian industrialists and the collaborative support of government over the years. But there is clearly room for improvement. And it will be my pleasure to see us discuss it and see how we can make Nigeria fully industrialized and not just partially industrialized. And exploring that improvement space towards reaching our full potential is why we are here today and the subject of my address. So I would like to sort of break it into 4 key factors. Let's talk about innovation in manufacturing sector. That's 1. 2, let's look at the local manufacturers' utilization. How do we utilize our raw materials locally, which will be a key pillar to sustainability? Number 3, let's look at enhancements through local manufacturing of equipment and spare parts. And then lastly, let's talk about leadership, which is government, and the people, which I believe is the foundation for technology transfers for our economic growth and sustainability. Now, going to innovation in the manufacturing sector, or innovation and the manufacturing sector, we remain a country of talent and entrepreneurial spirit, anchored on bold vision, courage, resilience, to deliver results despite our local challenges. And these challenges are not seen in many global geographies, and yet we have to deal with them. Myself, for example, I founded a company called Secure ID 20 years ago, at a time where Africa did not even have, or sub-Saharan Africa did not have a play in the production of smart cards, MasterCard, Visa cards for the finance sector, SIM cards for the telecom sector, and all sorts of high security ID documents like passports, like voter's card, like driver's license. Now, this is a space that is just not manufacturing, but it's technology. It's driven by technology. And at the time, it was we were told that this couldn't be done in Africa. But the entrepreneurial spirit, not just in me, but in so many millions of Nigerians, we take it upon ourselves and say, no, we can do this in Nigeria. And so, despite and in spite of all the global challenges, we were able to produce it in Nigeria, backward integrate over the years, organic growth, and then see ourselves exporting our products to over 20 countries in Africa. Whether in digital solutions, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's fintech, whether it's hospitality, furniture, agribusiness, we readily embrace and adapt and develop to deliver globally competitive and export quality solutions. Why and where? From a resilient manufacturing base. A lot has been achieved, but today's reality is that we still import almost every piece of machinery. Most of our raw inputs and are foreign. This overdependence keeps us vulnerable. It limits our growth. It stifles our ability to compete globally. It's certainly not a sustainable situation. We depend on even technical partners to deliver on our innovation. Needless to say that the right foundation needs to be put in place for continuous innovation. So we have creative mindset, we have the entrepreneurial mindset, we want to do so many things, but the ingredients to execute that innovation is not here, you know. And so that's why we're here today, and hopefully we'll look into it. The next pillar that I wanted to discuss was local raw materials. Local raw materials as a pillar of sustainability. How can Nigeria get to the stage where the entire value chain, or most of it, is possible and available locally? So, like the rest of Africa, Nigeria is a country that is blessed. We are blessed with raw materials in great abundance, in diversity and contemporary utility to the needs of today's world. What does the world want to use with the raw materials that we have? Whether it's lithium, whether it's gold, whether it's cobalt, whether it's oil, whether it's gas, and many others, they are here in geographical spread, quantity and quality, and relative ease of extraction. So our severe limitations over the years has remained the incapability for local conversion, for value addition. In most cases, we simply export our raw materials as basic primary products for others to add value through manufacturing and re-export to us for their tremendous gain and painful loss to our own economy. Even though the Nigerian government has set up several agencies to support innovation and technology transfer, such as the Raw Materials Council of Nigeria, NOTAP, NASENI, and others, we need to evaluate the following. Are they well funded? Are they funded adequately? Are they visible to the businesses in Nigeria that need them? For instance, if we look at NOTAP, NOTAP offers incentives for companies transferring technology. But how many manufacturers even know about it, let alone have access to its capabilities? We don't need to create new agencies. We simply need to make the existing ones work better. So this is something that we need to look at in how to ensure that a lot of our raw inputs are available and used locally. Thirdly is the enhancements through local manufacturing, especially of equipment and spares. Just as with raw materials, our dependence on the importation of machines and spares to our manufacturing sector is nearly total. The reality today is that China and most recently even India. In their growing roles as factories and manufacturers of the world, they have become sources of our equipment through OEM partnerships and relationships in virtually all sectors of our productive economy. This situation has made us vulnerable as a country beyond equipment procurement, as it has extended to even basic issues such as breakdown maintenance, repairs, and spares. We have seen situations where, we in our company have seen situations where OEMs plead obsolescence. You buy a machine and all of a sudden those machines are obsolete, and they plead lack of support on spares as a strategic means of pushing local manufacturers screaming and complaining, but without much choice but to purchase new machines. And otherwise, compared to having to service what you already have. So this is a major limitation to our ability to provide enhancements to our modest manufacturing efforts, and must remain an area of focus to us all, most especially on the subject of technology transfer. Buying machines from China or Germany, that's not technology transfer. Real transfer happens when we can fix the machines ourselves, understand how they work, and eventually build them ourselves. Right now, that's not where we are. When we get this right, we reduce our dependence on imports, we grow our GDP, we export more, and most importantly, we build pride and confidence in local capacity. So lastly, we're going to look at leadership and people as foundation for technology transfer, for economic growth and sustainability that we've been talking about. This is probably the most important component of the matrix of challenges atomized in what I have said so far. As is often said, leadership and people make things happen. How do we harness the enormous population and talent available in Nigeria towards providing local solutions to the challenges as other countries have done, notably China and India as contemporary examples? Why have we allowed this situation to go on for so long? And what should we be doing about it? Let's look at the leadership and people dimensions. What can we learn from China, which we all know? Now, let's take a quick look. Just 30 years ago, China was known primarily as a low-cost manufacturing hub. It built the products, but not the brands, not the machines, not the technology. Today, China is not just a manufacturer, it is a global technology powerhouse. They produce their own industrial machines, not just the products. They've invested heavily in reverse engineering, studying imported technology, understanding how the machines work, replicating it, and eventually improving on it. As they imported machines for production, they did the same primarily for research, stripped them apart to study components as part of reverse engineering strategy towards the production of spare parts. They trained their people intentionally, building one of the largest engineering talent pools in the world. Training starts from the basics. It starts from the foundation at primary school level with a deliberate effort or deliberate focus and priority at STEM, which is a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Secondary education and academia followed with massive budget and funding at all levels. We need to focus on that triangle: industry, academia, and government, or leadership. So China had a long-term focus on social investments in education, in research, in science and technology, and that was consistent all along. And they patiently waited for the results. Most importantly, they made strategic use of foreign partnership, just like we all as manufacturers have one foreign company that we're partnered with one way or the other. And they invited the world in. But behind the scenes, think about brands like Huawei, Geely, Lenovo. None of them existed in global consciousness 20 years ago. Today, they are the ones designing and exporting technology to the rest of the world. It started with assembling other people's designs, but China made a deliberate decision to move up the value chain. So what are we saying here? Nigeria can take the same path. We can start small. We can focus on our enormous population, especially the youth. We can focus on skills and upskilling. We can focus on having training institutes for research and development, which will foster sustainable innovation. And we can focus on spare parts training production and grow into design and eventually ownership. Thank you very much for listening.
Let's give her a resounding applause. Even the microphone had to take a bow. That was such an excellent paper. And it was so practical, detailed, and filled with experience. You could tell that she's clearly experienced in the field she's talking about. And to summarize all the message she has for us is that we improve on what we currently have, focus on what we have and see how to make it better. And of course, social investment is very critical to our development as a nation. And I'm so glad that we have all the relevant stakeholders in this room who will be taking more and more decisions to help us get to that place we ought to be as a nation, particularly in the manufacturing sector. In this room, I'm delighted to acknowledge the presence of the Consul General of India, a friend of the house. Please, let's put our hands together for Sri Chandamoli Ken. It's a pleasure seeing you, sir, and thanks for all you do. We sincerely appreciate you. To address us next is the Regional Director from UNIDO. He's actually a friend of the house as well. So let's put our hands together for Ambassador Philbert Abaka Johnson. A round of applause, please. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Honorable Minister of State, President of MAN, Director General of MAN, Managing Director of Bank of Industry, Consul General of India, I stand on existing protocols. I'm blessed to be here this morning as a result of the kind courtesy of the Honorable Minister of State, who has taken me along to Kaduna and now here in Lagos to see how best we can cooperate through partnerships to revive the industry, to revive industrialization in Nigeria. MAN has also graciously offered me the opportunity to speak briefly at this event. I believe that is also in the spirit of cooperation and partnership, as UNIDO had previous engagements and continued engagements with you in respect of inclusive and sustainable industrialization. As you've already been told, I am the new UNIDO representative in Nigeria and the sub-regional director. I am here not for rhetorics. I'm here for action to ensure delivery of what would make this country what it ought to be, that which would drive the economy of this country, and I believe it hinges on sustainable industrialization. Again, I'm also a Ghanaian, but I believe I'm truly a Nigerian because of my family's heritage. My family, many years, 100 years ago, traversed Badagry, Jos, and Kano. They intermarried in the length and breadth of this country. So, me as a brother who has come to work with you to ensure that we would do what we ought to do to make our country what it ought to be. This year, the Honorable Minister of State has demonstrated practical commitment, real commitment, in ensuring the signing of the Program for Country Partnership and the Industrial Development Fund between UNIDO and Nigeria. And I believe in his commitment. That is why he sent me to Kano and has brought me here also, so that we can forge further partnerships to ensure that industrialization becomes a real thing in this country. After signing these two critical agreements, I believe it is time for action and not a time to do business as usual. And our commitment is to be derived from our collective action in ensuring that in how little, the small things we can do, we can move forward from trade to produce and adding value to the resources we have in this country. Man is definitely very critical in this enterprise. It is an association of those who are focused on industry. And they have said very clearly that they are the catalyst to bring about industrialization in this country. And so let us act now. Man is essential in this enterprise. It is essential because its worth is dependent on how effective it ensures that kind of interaction, that kind of ecosystem that brings about true value to the resources that we have in this country. And therefore, if you are able to ensure that you accelerate sustainable manufacturing through cutting-edge equipment and technology solutions, then you would have moved us much further. Let me reiterate my thanks and appreciation to you all for your commitment to drive our economy and inclusive and sustainable industrialization. In closing, I wish to state in Yoruba of Lagos. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Midase, Ambassador Johnson. And that's thank you in Ghanaian language to my brother who has learned the appellation in Lagos, Nigeria. Eko Nibaje, you mean to say. Please, a round of applause once for him, again for him. Thank you so much. And to address us next is the MD Bank of Industry. Manufacturers in the room, you should be excited as we make welcome Dr. Olashupo Olusi. A round of applause for him as he comes forward. Welcome, Doctor. We're so happy and excited to have you in the room. When we see you, we hear good news. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. The Honorable, my boss, Senator John Owen Eno, the country representative of UNIDO, Ambassador Jackson, the President and the DG of MAN, my brother, the DG of RMRDC, Professor Ike Monso, other dignitaries here present, I want to say that please allow me to stand on already established protocols. It is an honor to be here at this pivotal event, the Nigerian Manufacturing and Equipment Expo. Of course, this gathering, as I can see, is one of industry or manufacturing stakeholders and is a testament to our collective commitment to drive growth, innovation, and industrialization in Nigeria. If you look at the schedule very closely, you'll see that I am not supposed to speak today. But I couldn't resist the pressure from the various quarters, especially from my boss, the minister, who said that, or he gave me the impression that if the MD of BOI has not spoken, then, there's no hope, essentially. So I put it upon myself that I have to say a few words in the form of a goodwill message to encourage the organizers of this event that this is truly a very important gathering. I've listened very closely to the presentations that were made, particularly to those by the guest speaker, Mrs. Kofuaki Kugbe. And it's in this spirit that I want to re-echo her presentation, which simply can be summarized that the nation cannot really achieve much in terms of developmental progress if it does not improve on the value addition within its manufacturing sector. Because this is what will drive sustainable exports, growth, and overall economic development. At the Bank of Industry, we understand this very much. To help critical challenges that lay across the value chain of that sector, which some of them have been identified as skills, research and innovation, and of course, ultimately, financing. BOI's mandate, as you all know, is to focus on financing. And this is in this, again, this spirit that I will keep my own intervention short and focused on what the Bank of Industry is really doing to ameliorate and help boost the drive for manufacturing in our economy. First things first, you've all heard that innovation is very, very important. And in conjunction with several other government agencies, BOI, in particular with the Raw Materials Development Council, BOI is working with is working to set up an innovation fund, which will help drive and commercialize new production, new ideas that have been put together by those who, especially by scientists in particular, who feel that Nigeria can benefit from the kind of products that they're trying to put together, but who don't have the skills or the financing to commercialize them. We are also set up to create an impact fund. That impact fund will sustain equity investments, which is really different from the usual debt that BOI gives, but it will focus on supporting enterprises at the growth stage across the whole value chain of manufacturing and other sectors, by the way, to help enhance the financial instruments that are available to those that can really make a difference for manufacturing. I also want to say that, as you can see, the federal government continues to make a difference in the sector. The 75 by the federal government through the very strong support of His Excellency the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already been exhausted, by the way, because of the interests and the commitment that BOI put in to ensure that it focuses on achieving some of the goals that it set out to achieve. I want to reiterate again that as a development bank and one that is really charged to support the manufacturing sector, we will not relent. We will continue to do everything we can within our powers to ensure that we resolve not just the financing and the problems that exist within financing, but the other challenges that exist within the whole ecosystem of manufacturing sector. And on this note, I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank you for inviting us to visit and to participate in this event. And I believe that you can count on us at any point in time to also really support when BOI is called upon. Thank you.
The BOI, Dr. Olashupo Olusi, we are indeed glad to have you in our midst. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, guests from far and near, it's not a coincidence that I'm dressed in my African parachute. The reason is because we are ready to fly. Every time the Minister of State for Industry is in a room, I'm always glad that this is one man who clearly walks the talk. He doesn't say what he would not do. And we are opportuned and privileged to listen to him once again to address us on all the other programs and laudable initiatives his excellent self always brings to bear. So let's give a resounding applause as we make welcome the one and only Honorable Minister of Staff, Senator John Owan Eno, as he comes forward to address us at this event. It's called Mr. Talk and Do in some parlance, and is clearly an excellent spirit. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you. Please, you may be seated. Thank you. The president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, Otumba Francis Moshewe, the regional director and UNIDO representative to Nigeria, Ambassador Philbert Abaka Johnson, the Consul General of the Republic of India, the Managing Director of BOI, Dr. Olashupo Olusi, the DG of Raw Materials Research and Development Council, Professor Ike Monso, the DG of MAN, Shegun Ajayi Kadire, other distinguished speakers, esteemed exhibitors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let me thank the organizers of this event. I mean, earlier on in the last couple of weeks, there seemed to have been some anxiety. I remember last week, Lady Chukwudozie of Keystone Bank followed a team of lubricants to my office. And before leaving, she made an appeal on why she thought that very important to attend this event. And I wondered why. And the reason for my wonder was that if MAN is organizing an event, I mean, it's a no-brainer that I will personally attend. I mean, first, if I love myself, and I do love myself, I should be in the room. Secondly, I think that MAN has remained very supportive of the little work we've tried to do since being assigned the mandate of industry. So let me again say that, and especially if you're looking at the theme of this event, let me say something little about Ambassador Philbert Johnson. Like I said, he's relatively new to our country. I mean, he came immediately after the signing of the PCP, and he's been around. But I find in him, I think, a gentleman who is determined for the work for which he's been assigned. I find, for the first time, an individual who is not waiting, to be told what to do, who is actually pushing and trying to get everybody to get committed to the work. And I had to speak to my team. I said, you guys have to watch it. This man mustn't be more serious about the work of industrializing our country than ourselves. After all, whatever work he does here is going to be to the benefit of our country. So we must at all times show more seriousness than him. That is the charge that we have. And I thank you. That's what you bring. I thank you. So I'm glad that, yesterday he was with us in Kaduna. Today he's with us in Lagos. And in some way, it gives him some feel about what he is up against in terms of our country and in terms of what needs to be done. Mrs. Kofoa Kinkume, thanks for being so challenging in you. Thanks for challenging everybody and challenging us about matters that are obvious, about matters that are said all the time. It is either that we are bemoaning the fact that we keep exporting basic primary products, or that we are involved in, importing all sorts of machinery to the extent that it even becomes disgraceful that even the basic ones we are not able to manufacture in country. And it's incidentally, unless we're able to manufacture these equipment, we would never get where we're headed. Because the countries we're getting them from are not tired of supplying. So they're going to get us to a point in which we can. It's like some other form of dependence on neocolonialism. That's what it is. So unless we find ourselves and find our feet, we would never get to our desired destination. So let me thank, the raw materials, and thank, MAN, and thank everybody who has been involved in this Raw Materials Expo. For what I think is quite pivotal, what I think is subject and an expo that in itself is almost a reflection. It's almost like a mirror. It mirrors what we are and the state of play in the ecosystem. It gives us some kind of graphic map in terms of what the situation is. So, and especially the theme. It's just not just timely. I think it's a transformative theme. And I think it gets us to begin to look at, transiting and moving beyond intention to innovation, and then beyond mere aspirations to having to now, apply what our aspirations are. I think that if you look at it globally, it's undergoing quite some profound revolution. The convergence of matters like automation, artificial intelligence, energy efficiency, smart infrastructure, of course, is redrawing the map and the boundaries of possibilities. And I think that one question everybody in this room needs to ask is, what role is our country playing in all of this? I think that we the geography of our country, we got a huge population. We got a population that has the right energy mix. So what we may lack, for example, may be a kind of coordinated acceleration to get all of this to happen. So we may not have to continue to treat technology as something that just cutting edge manufacturing equipment and technological advancement, as mere capital. I mean, it's something that we need for the survival of industry, for the survival of manufacturing. I mean, yesterday, like I said, I was in Kaduna, NTL, and we walked through a facility that hasn't been in production since about 2019 or whatever, a facility that is not working anymore. And we saw the machines, we saw all of that. So equipment, machinery, I mean, are going to remain at the bottom of all our aspirations to be an industrialized country, to be a manufacturing, powerhouse. So the MSMEs, for example, that drive about 90-something% of our manufacturing sector, are going to continue to need access to affordable smart machinery, not antiquated tools, of the past. Our textile industries are going to need efficient systems to become globally competitive. So we must move from importing used, industrial scrap, because most of them, that's what they are, to deploying world-class solutions built for resilience, for sustainability. I mean, what it is that we must get to a point in which our factories are a reflection of the future that we seek as a country. What I'll do at this moment is just to give some highlight of the few areas of current momentum. We have a draft national industrial policy that is currently going through some processing for revalidation. And this policy places technology adoption, equipment financing, and backward integration at the core of our manufacturing vision. Let me thank Man. Man is in the room with us, trying to get a document is going to be fit for purpose. The proposed Made in Nigeria campaign that is going to be hopefully anchored by a pro-Nigeria secretariat will provide certification, digital marketplaces, and media support for made in Nigeria equipment and manufacturing innovation.